Hello and welcome back to the Emotionless podcast. My name is Logan, and as always, I will be your host. So today's episode is March 12th, 2021, part 3. If you watched part 2, which was a little bit of a clown show at the end, because I was laughing about a circus tent for 2 minutes, you will know that I had my meeting with my counselor. And so after that, I left the counseling center and went to sit under this circus tent that they set up for student dining. And I called my, believe it or not, my math teacher from high school, who was kind of like a mental health advisor for me. Or, I mean, not a mental health advisor, a mentor and advisor for me. She would just like coach me through things. She helped me get through college, helped the whole application process. And I'm just like, so I make a habit of like people that I'm not like buddy with. I just twerked when I said that, and I really don't know why. That I text them before I send them any kind of a message. And this is no exception. So I texted her and I was like, hey, do you have a moment to call? I have something I need to talk to you about, and I really don't know how to say it over text. And at this point, it's like 7:45, and her rule of thumb is do not text or call me after 8, because she has to get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, do I have to? Like, she's like, yeah, what's up? I have a couple minutes. And so I call her up, and I kind of am like crying and panicking at this point. And she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I've been accused of sexual misconduct by Claire. And she knows everything about Claire at this point. She knows everything Claire's done. I've been keeping her updated ever since I met Claire. Pretty much anybody in my life at this point. Today is August. My phone will tell me the date. August 10th, 2022. And I can't think of a person who is a main character in my life who doesn't know who Claire is. I tell everyone about Claire. Like, again, it's like my TikTok says, trauma is my defining characteristic. And they all hate her, so what a surprise. And so I'm like, yeah, Claire's officially accused me of sexual misconduct. And I'm like, and she's just like, Logan, I freaking told you not to hang out with this girl. I told you she is bad news. Bad things are going to happen. She's only going to bring bad things to you. And I'm like, I know. You told me, blah, 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 blah. So, I end up, telling her everything that happened on February 10th into February 11th. I tell her the whole fight that happened on February 11th where, she was threatening to accuse me, how I found out that it actually happened on March 9th, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, and I'm like, there's another question that goes along with this. And she's like, oh God, what? And I'm like, God, I'm making her sound like such a bad person. I want to make it very clear. This mentor is a wonderful person. She just doesn't have time for my bullshit. And so she tends to be a little bit harsh at times, but that's because she's just sick of my bullshit. And I mean, frankly, who could blame her? I'd be sick of my bullshit if I was her. So, yeah. So, basically, I'm like, I have to pick an advisor to represent me in the case. They advised that I pick somebody from the school, but I'd like it to be you if you're okay with that. I know you know a lot about everything that's gone on with her. You don't have to follow any college procedures, and I know that you can help me. And she's like, that's a lot to ask of me, but I care about you, and I'll do it. So she agrees to be my advisor. And I think it was at this point that I started to feel a little bit more happy and confident, because I was like, okay, I've got somebody strong on my side who's going to help me win this case. Yeah. Then I hang up the phone with her. I'm like, have a good night. I'm so sorry to bother you. And she's like, hey, it's okay. That's what I'm here for. And then I see my friend Jessica. No, who was it? Sorry, I'm opening the Snapchat note that I have all the names saved in because I'm literally a dumb clown and I can't remember anybody's names. Let's see. Okay, so Jessica and Rachel come by and they're like, hey, they see me crying at a picnic table because at this point I'm like sobbing. I know I like just told everything to you very like calm and collected, but I was not calm and collected when it was happening. And they're like, oh my God, are you okay? Because Rachel had actually accompanied me to the meeting with Cheryl Nichols, but she stayed out in the waiting room. And she texted me mid-meeting and she's like, hey, I gotta go. I'm so sorry. I just got called somewhere. And I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Because at this point, Cheryl Nichols had not told me what had happened. So I was still calm and collected at this point. So she's like, are you okay? How'd that meeting go? Is everything okay? And I'm like, can we just go back to your apartment? I need to explain a lot of information to you. And they're like, yeah, we'll come back to our apartment. Because Jessica, Rebecca, and Rachel all lived together at the time. Because I think I've mentioned this before, but our college did not have, like, dorm rooms. We had apartments, which was very nice because it helped with, like, independent living skills. But anyways, that's besides the point. That's not the point of this story. So we go back to their apartment. And... sorry, I'm opening up my notes to remember exactly what I was supposed to talk about. And Rebecca is there. And, I come in and they're like kind of, I've got my arms on their shoulders and, I'm crying at this point. I can barely walk. I'm like just so emotional. Which apparently is a real thing. Apparently you can get so emotional where you like break down, like pass out. Because your brain can't process everything that's happening. So I think that's what happened to me. And... so I, I come in and they let me sit on the floor and I sit on the floor, I kind of look around for a moment. I'm like, is it safe? And all of them are like, what do you mean? Is it safe? You can trust us. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to hurt you. And I knew they weren't going to hurt me, but I had just been so dramatically hurt that I was scared to trust anyone. And I just said, I need a hug. And so they propped me up into a wheelchair, and Jessica gave me a hug, and she's like, tell us what happened. We're here for you. And so I tell Jessica and, Rebecca and Rachel that I had been formally accused of sexual misconduct by Claire. And Jessica's like, I hate to say it, Logan, but we told you not to hang out with her. They said this after. They were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Do you want something to drink and eat? Do you need help processing this? And they're like, I'm so sorry, Logan. I know I told you not to hang out with her, and I'm not going to be that bitch right now that, pulls the whole I told you so card, because clearly that's not the support you need right now. And then I started, I just started like wanting to cry uncontrollably. And I just sat there and cried. And I was like kind of blacked out at this time. Like I wasn't really fully aware socially of my surroundings. But I do remember vaguely hearing Jessica go, let's just let him cry. He just needs to cry. That he needs to get it out of his system. And I really appreciate Jessica for that. Because that's exactly what I needed at the time. I needed to cry. And so I remember, the next thing I remember was like an hour later. Like I literally cried for an hour. I'm not even kidding. Like I wish I was joking. I literally sat there and cried for like an hour. And I remember you can tell this story I I came out of my crying, and I just remember there was like a blanket and pillow on the couch, and they offered me like, hey, if you want to spend the night here, you can, because at this point I had spent almost a month sleeping on the couch at my apartment because my roommate, again, nothing against my roommate, he's a wonderful guy, I still talk to him occasionally, just because we didn't like hit it off, but like we're friends. He snored, and I am just a dumb light sleeper. Like, anything will wake me up. You could let it go, and I'll wake up. Like, anything will wake me up. So I'm like, it's okay. I'll walk home, and because it was like 11:45 at this time, and I remember. Sorry, I'm pulling up my notes again. I remember Rebecca was like, hell no, I am driving you home. I am not letting you walk in the condition and state you're in right now. She asked Jessica to come with me. They both drove me home. And I remember just feeling like a failure. Like, and feeling so betrayed. Because if you remember a couple episodes back, let me see if I can pull it up. Episode 29, You're Safe With Me, I Promise. If you remember in that episode, she literally said to me, I promise nothing will happen and I will not report you. My mistake for trusting her. A mistake that I have to live with now. But it was so hard. I got to a point where I didn't trust anyone at that point. And I didn't even know where to feel or how I felt or what was going on or what was around my surroundings. Like, I didn't think I could trust anyone. And that was honestly the shittiest feeling of all. Was feeling like I had nobody. Was feeling like feeling alone. And feeling like I had nobody. And that was one of the worst feelings in the world. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.